Hi and welcome back to the channel. This time I'd like to talk about a little prototype I'm working on, and I'll just call it Destructible World, which is basically some kind of vehicular combat game where you can drive around, fire bullets and destroy your environment, but not only the environment, which is like some kind of 3D geometry, but also the environment itself, where you can like dig holes, or on the other hand just deform the environment to, for instance, build little hills or so on. And this is inspired by a game you may know. And this game is called Vigilante 8. I'll just open a small gameplay video here from YouTube, just reducing the sound a little bit, where you can drive around, collect weapons, and play against others by firing weapons. One thing that I always wanted to have in this game was like destructible environment, which was not possible at that time. But games like Red Factory or others just proved that this is doable, and all that combined into one game with this vehicular combat factor is basically that prototype here that I want to talk about. And I just added a few more features, like not only the car controller, but also like some kind of reset point where you can reset your car. The camera system, which is done with Cinemachine, which consists of an orbit cam, or the classic, you know it from race games, the follow cam. And of course the bullets, like some kind of shooting mechanic, which is just rigid body based, or you can switch vehicles. Just turn on the sound a little bit. Just turning off the sound. So every car has its unique behaviors and speeds and braking and handling and so on. Like this is more like the racing car. The red one is the muscle car, and I also wanted to explore some kind of hovercraft mechanics. We'll dive into that in a second, which also feels pretty good and was inspired by Vigilante 8 as well. So how does this work? What am I using, and how can you build that yourself? So first of all, let's dive into the assets I'm using. Just closing the YouTube video later on. First of all, I'm using a GitHub repository which is called marchingcubes terrain from a user called Eldemarkey, and this has been archived, as it says here, in June 13th, but it's still working, and it's basically not a problem to import that into a project. It's open source, and the license is MIT, so you can also use it. And everything is basically written here, so you just can clone it, open the project in Unity. I just checked out the repository, opened it at Unity as it's written down here, and added everything into there. I am using Unity 6 at the moment, as you can see here, and that works pretty good. It imports everything you need into the package manager. As you can see here, there are a lot of packages, Brisk compiler and so on, which are needed by the marchingcubes terrain, and everything's going pretty easy by using the voxel world script. I'll just make this a little bit bigger so you can see. The only thing I added was in the procedural chunk provider script an event which is called chunk generation finished, where I can trigger events based on the finishing from the terrain generation. So how does this look? When I start it, you can see that there is some kind of overlay canvas which just indicates that the generation is happening, and there is my terrain generated and my car just thrown onto the terrain, and I can drive it like road, as there is a mesh collider on each chunk. I added a collider beneath the terrain, so when I'm driving over the edge and the car is falling down, I will be automatically reset to the center. And let's see if we can manage to drive down here. Yes, okay, that looks good. And you can play the game. There is no multiplayer implemented yet. I'm just thinking about that, but we'll see how this project will evolve. So for the hovercraft mechanic, which was something I wanted to explore for a long time, I'll just show it to you. There is the model of the Simsy Street Racer package. I'll show you that later on. And instead of having normal wheels, there's this kind of boosters or whatever they are. And the secret to my very simple hovercraft mechanic, opening the wheel collider here, it's just the wheel collider, which extends over the booster and has a few extra settings which makes it damping more. So with that, on every 4 wheels and a little damping and a little offset of the car itself, you can implement some kind of hovercraft mechanic which will work on everything with a collider on. If you want to make it float on the water, you can always change the physics settings so that the wheel collider of your hovercraft will have some kind of tag or is on a layer which will collide with the water wherever other things will not collide with the water. I'm pretty sure you can figure out some mechanics to make that work. And for the source code, just a very simple sneak peek here. There's this procedural chunk provider script. I'll just add a Unity event here. So for the forming and deforming of the terrain, I'll just use 2 simple scripts. Let's have a look at the repairer first. It's a little bit simpler, which will always check if my projectile will hit something, and if it hits something, then it calls the added terrain method, which will just check which chunk on the terrain we are, and it will deform the voxel world in the background accordingly. The same goes for the deformer. I just added a few more things to make it also possible to hit players, to apply damage. You saw the health bar earlier, and to destroy things around you, like the containers, which is done with openfracture. And if we have a look over here for the green hack, there is this framework called openfracture, also with MIT license, which enables you to use fracturing on 3D meshes. This works pretty well. The documentation is pretty good. It's just a package for you to import into your Unity project, and there is a lot you can do. I just pre-fractured everything, so as soon as the bullet hits the container, it will just fracture in a predefined way. You can also do some kind of real-time fracturing and everything else, and it's pretty easy. So which assets do I use? Basically the Polygon Street Racer package, which I bought long time ago as part of a Humble bundle. The Prometeo car controller, which is also a very good car controller for, I would say, basically every occasion, and the best thing, it's free. And the same user, Mina, has a second car, the racing car, which is also a very cool car model for racing games and compatible with the car controller. And the Polygon Street package also contains this hovercraft vehicle. Somewhere over here we're going to see it, I'm pretty sure. So many pictures. Not quite sure where it is, but it's part of the package, so no worries here. And for the effects, I'm using the Cartoon FX Remaster 3 for the boom effect and the repair effect, which is also a very, very, very good package. So we'll see how this project will evolve, if I will continue working on it or just continue with other prototypes. So that's it for the devlog. And as for the closing note, I just wanted to thank all my YouTube channel members for supporting the channel. I'll try to upload more videos in the near future. There's a lot going on. Stay tuned for the next videos and please like and subscribe. Write a comment down there and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.